Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review We Are Still Here. This house needs a family.
Written and directed by Ted Geoghegan, starring Barbara Crampton, Andrew Sensenig, Lisa Marie, and Larry Fessenden. This movie's about a couple who moved to a house in New England during the winter, shortly after their son passed away. Everything seems immediately creepy, as if this house is haunted, and it turns out every 30 years, this house needs to eat, so it requires a sacrifice. This is actually a recommendation from Scuba Steve over on our Patreon, who won our monthly movie raffle. This is actually one that I watched when it first came out, and I don't really watch ghost movies, but this was a cool ghost movie. It was actually included on one of my top 10 lists that I did either in 2015 or 2016 when I initially saw it, and we will be getting back to those shortly. So thank you, Scuba Steve, for allowing us to revisit it. Now, what do we like?
I really liked the aesthetics of this film. It looked beautiful. The cinematography was very well done. We had a lot of long takes. We had a lot of wide shots.
And because the house, it is the villain, basically, of this movie, in between certain situations that are tense, it'll cut to a shot of the outside of the house, so you know that they're kind of abandoned. There's no neighbors around them. With all of the snow, there's no way anybody's gonna get to this house except for their family that they call in because they're frightened. I get it. I would do the same thing. So it's just a nice reminder that it's the house and not necessarily the ghost. It's just this is an evil house with evil things happening inside of it. I absolutely loved the acting. Barbara Crampton is one of my favorite actresses, and she crushed it in this. I felt really bad for her at times because she did such a good job. She's a grieving mother who had just lost her son, and you can feel what she's going through while she's also being terrified by what's happening in the house. She hears noises in the basement, so she has to go investigate them. Her life is basically just falling apart, and you can just see her soul crushing every moment of this movie.
I really enjoyed her husband, Paul. He did a fantastic job as well. He was grieving in a different way, and as his character developed, he finally became a believer, but his wit was probably the best part of this film because he was kind of the comic relief. He had these dry one-liners that really knew how to break up the tension, and he did it in such a good way.
Actually, Jacob's a lot cooler than I remember. Still stoner, but good guy. No beef with him.
His character was very relatable and believable.
The same can be said for Larry Fessenden, who came in with Lisa Marie, his wife, who are kind of in touch with the spiritual world.
Oh, now this is living!
Some unfortunate events unfold because of it.
What do you think we're gonna do, baby? Start conducting a seance the second you leave? Come on.
They leave, guess what happens? A motherfucking seance. Without spoiling anything, this is where things start to ramp up, and closer to the end of the movie, shit gets wild, there's a bunch of practical effects, and it's really, really solid. The music is also extremely well done. They use a lot of brooding tones.
It spread like a plague until it found many.
And it just keeps this eerie atmosphere going at all times. There's not a moment, unless there's gonna be a lead up to a jump scare or something, where there's an absence of the soundtrack. But when there is an absence of the soundtrack, the Foley effects and all of these little sounds that you hear throughout the house really make you start thinking wait, what was that? Where was that coming from? And so you start to think as the characters because the sound effects sound so good.
I really like the story of this film and how it unfolded. It had me wondering what was actually going on, whether it was the house or whether it was spirits living in the house, and the story is just really well paced. It moves along so smooth that you barely even notice that you're watching it for an hour and 20 minutes. I also enjoyed the jump scares. They use your standard techniques when you want to scare the audience, but at the same time, you saw some cool moments in the basement with people being in the background, the lights turning on and off, and they're there, then they're not there, or shadowy figures, noises. This film just did a good job creating genuine scares.
And I'm thankful for that because, as you know, I absolutely hate cheap ass jump scares, demon faces and stuff. But if you can do it in a good way, then I embrace it. And this is proof of that. Paranormal movies and ghost movies can be made well. Now, what didn't we like?
This is a little nitpicky, but I didn't actually like the final conclusion of the film. It kind of leaves it open-ended. Considering they were giving us so many details throughout the film to say this is why this is happening, I didn't like how it ended.
Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Having seen this movie a few times now, I absolutely love it. And now having the opportunity to talk about it for a review is excellent. Thank you, Scuba Steve. Everything in this movie was really, really well done. The sound design, the cinematography, the acting, and with its little like subtle comedy, like it is a super serious movie and it is more of a slow burn, but there are enough lighter moments to not make it feel like it's a slow burn. It's almost like a traditional take on a haunted house story, but done with a little bit of like modern sass. I just really enjoyed this movie. I don't really have any criticisms about it, so I'm gonna give this 5 awkward entrances out of 5.
As a huge fan of paranormal movies, this film had everything you would want in a ghost story. It was just fantastic, visually, storytelling-wise, character development. This film had it all. I loved all of our characters. I felt the acting was great and the chemistry they had on screen fit perfect for the mood they were trying to create. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 5 nightcaps out of 5.
Would anyone like a nightcap?
Oh, I wouldn't refuse one.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if you want the opportunity to recommend a movie for us to review, join our monthly movie raffle by clicking that Patreon link in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.